Welcome to My Weekly Mixtape, a podcast that takes the classic mixtape approach to building a modern playlist. I'm your host, Brian Colburn. Joining me tonight is the largest panel of guests in My Weekly Mixtape history, as I can officially call this episode a panel discussion, as I'm joined by Pantheon Network mates Jason, Jordan, Ryan, and Brad, otherwise known as the Four Jobbers. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. Yeah, it's
Thank
class.
you.
It's great to be here.
I always like to start by asking my guests this question. I guess we'll just work our way around the table, starting with, I don't know, Jason, we'll start with you. What does the word mixtape mean to you?
That's a good question. And, growing up, I was really into hip hop and rap, so mixtapes were very important. For me, I think it was it's a personal thing. I think albums are very curated and there's so much planning and everything that goes into it. For me, when I was growing up, like the rappers were able to get the mixtapes out quick and they were very personal and maybe a little bit more raw, some freestyles on there. So to me, it's more personal. Mixtapes are more personal to me.
Jordan?
Yeah, growing up, mixtapes were something that we would share with other people. Like, I know you're saying it's personal, but we would share it with our mates and show them what we'd put on it. And it was almost like a representation of our personality. You know what I mean? Like, growing up, you'd be like, hey, this is what I like. What do you think about this,
Ryan?
Yeah, Jordan said exactly what I was going to say. I think about the DIY that goes into putting a mixtape together and the expression of you. I made a mixtape for my now wife after our first date, and I'd like to think it's gone well since then. I did a good enough job.
And Brad?
I only ever had the experience of getting one mixtape growing up when I was in high school from a girl, and it was a great experience because you never know what's going to be on it. You don't know which music's going to be there, and so it's something that I think all of us have had a chance to experience. And then would that count? Like, we had these CDs growing up, or just after tapes, right? From, in Canada, Much Music. I guess it's the Canadian version of MTV, right? And so you get a whole smattering of different styles and different genres, a little Blink-182, a little pop, things like that. So those are definitely some of my most fond memories listening to music for sure.
Awesome. Well, tonight we're going to be talking music, but since you guys are the Four Jobbers and you're centered around wrestling, and I myself love me some WWE, tonight the five of us are going to be tasked with creating a playlist featuring the 10 best entrance themes in WrestleMania history. So 40 years of WrestleMania wrapped up into 10 songs. From Tito Santana versus the Executioners opening match in WrestleMania 1 to the Bloodline Rules championship match of Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes to close out WrestleMania 40, we have our work cut out for us tonight. And if that wasn't hard enough, there's also a bit of a twist at play here because this is a music show. So no, we're not just going to rattle off our 10 favorite wrestlers in wrestling history. These songs have to be badass when separated from the wrestler. It doesn't have to be a wrestling theme because some wrestlers use actual band's music. Other stuff is produced by the WWE, but the song has to exist outside of wrestling for each one of these choices. And I think watching the 2025 Royal Rumble, there were certain songs that when they would happen, I would look at the family and go, who the hell is coming out? Like, what is happening? And that was kind of the reason I decided to do this episode. So with that, I'm going to go through each one of you with this question. Jason, we'll start with you again. How hard was it for you to nail down your list? Because you only get 2 picks tonight.
I think we've had this conversation before amongst ourselves, so it wasn't too hard for me because I know what is the greatest wrestling theme of all time. So I put that one on my list, and I chose another one that I've grown to love by listening to it. Separating the wrestler from it is important, actually, in this case. So,
Jordan?
Initially, I had like 100 things come to my head, and I just went, right, okay, I'm putting this down, put this down, put this, and then I went, I've only got 2. I need to narrow this down. How the hell am I going to do this? And that was the hardest part. I think, trying to separate the song from the wrestler, because immediately when I thought about the song, I thought about the wrestler, right? So I had to try and separate that out. And I came up with a list of 2 or 3 just in case. And it was tough. Like, it is really tough because you're trying to think about what gets me personally going. So it was tough, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed coming up with some for sure.
Right?
Same deal. I had to make sure not only to think of my favorites, but I had to think of reserve picks for in case I get scooped, because this is kind of draft style, if I'm not mistaken.
You are right.
Did I have to think of the ones that are a song that exists that is adapted to wrestling, or do I have to think of great songs that accompany a wrestler but have taken on a mind of their own? It's a great exercise. And as Jason said, we've done it before, and I love talking wrestling themes. We saw the worst of it almost at the Royal Rumble, and I'm excited to talk the best of it.
And finally, Brad.
Yeah, save the best for last, of course. There's always a little bit of banter going along. We were talking about this, getting ready for it. And, we all want to snipe each other and take one of the songs from the others want to show up with. And it's great you brought up the Royal Rumble, because that was a great example of what happens when you don't pay that much attention to the wrestler's theme song. It is so important in building a character. Having that initial sound that lets us know who the wrestler is so important, especially during a Royal Rumble or during a run-in, and it can add so much. Look what Seth Rollins is doing. Just a song alone can elevate you from mid-card, maybe into the top of the card, just because it gives you something a little bit different. So I'm excited to see what the guys have today, and I'm really excited to see what you pick as well, because I have no idea what's going to come out from you, so I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I just put together a list of 11 songs. Even though there's only 10 choices, I have a feeling I'm going to get scooped by somebody, and I wanted to be able to go in different directions based on what you guys were picking. And I have no idea where each of your mindsets are coming here. So this is going to be a complete exercise that the songs may or may not flow from each other one to the next. We might go genre hopping. We might stay in one kind of hard rock style. Who knows? So with that said, let's get down to business, or given the theme tonight, let's get ready to rumble. Because as I mentioned at the top of the show, the five of us will be curating the ultimate WrestleMania mixtape using a roundtable approach, with our overall goal for this episode is to craft the best playlist of wrestling entrance themes through only 10 songs. At the end of the show, you can take this conversation to the next level by visiting the episode page at myweeklymixtape.com, where you can give our final mixtape a listen via the embedded playlist. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or by becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. There you can find ad-free episodes of the show, get early access to future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, become a future guest, and chime in on upcoming topics like several of the mixtapers did with the songs they would use to kick things off tonight, and I want to share them with the group here. Tom Hutchinson chimed in with Metalingus by Alter Bridge, with Edge being his favorite wrestler of all time and saying his WrestleMania 24 entrance stands out the most. Brandon from Virginia chimed in with also Sprock Zarathustra, otherwise known as Ric Flair's entrance music. Rob Jones chimed in saying it's gotta be Mr. WrestleMania and bonafide sexy boy Shawn Michaels theme music. However, side note, the drums on Becky Lynch's theme are absolutely nuts. Chad Lamassa chimed in with Downstate's I Came to Play for The Miz. And David Lee Smith chimed in with Voodoo Child, Slight Return by the Jimi Hendrix Experience for Hollywood Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 19, calling it his all-time favorite entrance music, adding that if he were in the business, he'd do anything to have that as his theme music, which I guess that would mean he has to go through Hollywood Hulk Hogan to make that happen. So David, if that match is ever to go down, let me know so I could tune in and check that out. Once again, if you'd like to chime in for future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, come join the Mixtaper community at patreon.com/myweeklymixtape. And with that, the following contest is scheduled for one fall.
One fall.
Introducing first, as I ran our names through a randomizer to make this Royal Rumble style, Jason, you get the pleasure or pressure of kicking things off tonight.
Well, thank you very much. Unfortunately, one of those people that called in or wrote in or whatever stole my thunder a little bit, but I'm going to stay with it. The greatest wrestling theme of all time is Sexy Boy, HBK, Shawn Michaels. It's never changed for him his whole career. Even when he wasn't quite such a sexy boy, he still made sure to keep it. He sings it himself, which is incredible and remarkable. I know Sherry sang the first version, but this one's better. And for me, it's the shower test. If I could listen to it in the shower and really feel good about it, then I like it. And I listen to Sexy Boy in the shower all the time, and I've come out feeling fresh and like a sexy boy. So what more could you want? It's easy to sing along to. It's funny. And there's an incredible guitar solo that really makes it feel, when he holds up that title belt and that guitar solo plays, like there's nothing better. He is Mr. WrestleMania, and that is the greatest wrestling theme of all time.
Of course, Jason picked Shawn Michaels. He was a huge Shawn Michaels mark growing up. He was a big Shawn fan. I was a big Bret fan. And that's just what he is. He's a contrarian. But in this case, I can't fault him for that. It's one of the best wrestling themes of all time, arguably the best wrestling theme of all time.
Well, yeah, again, Brad's kind of said it. Jason was definitely going to pick that. We always knew that. But I don't know if I would ever call Jason a sexy boy, but that's okay. That's okay. That's absolutely fine. It is an absolute banger. There wouldn't be a mixtape without that on it if we're talking about wrestling. So I have to agree. It has to be right at the top of the list for sure.
Make it 4. We knew this is where Jason was going. And I know that sometimes the theme song and the wrestler are separate. I think this theme only works for Shawn Michaels. I think it could only be Shawn who is accompanied by this music. It works so well with who he was as a character. It works well now as a legacy act. And it's hard to disagree. As soon as you hear that opening riff and you hear the you get hyped because you know the greatest. It's not too bad, right? And you know the greatest is coming out and going to entertain you. So great pick, Jason. I can't say I wouldn't have picked the same.
And the character itself, coming from where he did with the Rockers and then kind of into this sexy boy persona that he even was able to carry into Degeneration X, even though it was a little bit of a twist on it. He always was a heartthrob for the female fans. So the music fits that side of it, but the music is also solid enough that you could enjoy it as a jam as a guy as well. So I think this plays all parts of the character that kind of transcends the different personas he's taken on. Obviously, he didn't have this persona with the Rockers as much. It was taking him there, but he really kind of brought it to the next level from that point on. And once again, a shout out to Patreon mixtaper Rob Jones, who chimed in with this one as well. So with that, we're moving on to follow up Shawn Michaels' Sexy Boy. Brad, we're up with your first pick of the night.
I'm going to go to WrestleMania 27, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, The Undertaker. And at this WrestleMania, he used Ain't No Grave by Johnny Cash.
Nice.
We all know and love The Undertaker's theme, but this was just a little bit different, added a little something extra, and it's just one of my favorite songs too. I love Johnny Cash, so how could I not choose this one?
Yeah, that's a great song. As far as like a WrestleMania playlist, I think it's a bit obscure. I wouldn't even remember that he used that, but you know, as a song, it's a great song, no doubt about it, and it fits The Undertaker perfectly. So,
yeah, I disagree with Jason. I remember the WrestleMania where he came out to that song. I couldn't tell you who his opponent was. That's the only thing, but it still fits with The Undertaker's general era. If I'm not mistaken, they did the gong and then they did the Johnny Cash. And it fits. It fit with his entrance. It fit with his look. It still made him imposing and made him threatening. And The Undertaker was all about aura. And this was perfect for him.
I think it was Triple H who he fought at that WrestleMania.
Whoever it was, they lost.
That's right.
Yeah, it's funny. We talk about one song being synonymous with a wrestler like Sexy Boy and Shawn Michaels. And actually, this is the opposite. Like, Undertaker had so many different themes throughout his career. There's obviously a couple that he's more attuned with, but there's quite a few. And this one doesn't stick out for me because it was probably only used the once, but it did for Brad. And I think that's what's important about a mixtape when we talk about something being, a representation of your personality. Throwing that one in there, it's a great song. It's a brilliant pick. Yeah, like it's great. I'm here for it. I love it. Love it.
And I have to agree again. This is, we're talking Johnny Cash here. One of the all-time greatest musicians of any genre. And let's be honest, The Undertaker's theme is decades of just countless matches where it's the same theme. This one time there was this pivot. Obviously the American badass character aside here. We're talking the dead man version of The Undertaker. This was a fun pivot because you knew The Undertaker was coming out. You knew where we were in the card for this match. So it was a swerve where you knew what was happening. So the theme music almost gave this delayed response, where in the 2025 Royal Rumble, it was a delayed response because they had no clue who was coming out. This was more of a shock that they spun it to a Johnny Cash song, a country song nonetheless. And it was so dark, it was able to grab the Undertaker's persona and channel it through an already recognizable song that's usually not attached to him. So I thought it's a brilliant move. And I actually remember it for that, but I'm also a huge music nerd. So, I mean, of course, that's going to score points with me. And in the random drawing, I'm actually up next.
Nice.
So I'm going to jump in here and follow up Johnny Cash. And I mean, I'll go with The Undertaker in a way, but I'll go with one of his opponents because as far as I'm concerned, The Undertaker or Chris Jericho from WrestleMania 28 and 29 are probably the two matches that stick out to me for CM Punk. So let's go Living Color, Cult of Personality. I mean, the time that Living Color played it live and he came out, I get goosebumps for those moments. I love seeing bands come out and perform during the wrestler's entrance. I mean, the most recent was last year with Motionless in White playing out Rhea Ripley for her title defense. I love the fact that CM Punk took it upon himself when he returned to WWE to reach out to Living Color themselves and have them re-record a version of the song so that way he can ensure the money went to the band versus the label. Wow. That was such a, CM Punk is a personality in the ring that's a character, but he also has some of the morals that his character possesses. And when something like that happens, to me, that takes it a step above the business. And it was just an awesome move to do for a band that truly is one of the most underrated rock bands as far as I'm concerned. They should be so much bigger than Cult of Personality. They're such an amazing group. And I love the fact that CM Punk is keeping their legacy alive through that song. And then I'll just close up by saying Punk is 3-4 at WrestleMania. Maybe he'll be tied up at the end of 41 in the triple threat match. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, again, it's another one that was absolutely going to have to be in there at some point, right? It's when we talk about the Royal Rumble that's just passed and some unrecognizable songs, you immediately know what's happening. From the first half of a second of that track, you know who it is, and you know the way that it's going to turn in whatever match is happening, right? So to have Punk in this mixtape or Living Color in this mixtape, yeah, of course, it makes absolute sense. Love it.
I absolutely love that pick. And it has a little bit of a special place in my heart because I got to see it live once. Undertaker versus CM Punk, MetLife Stadium, WrestleMania 29. Jason and I were live in the building. So yeah, as soon as you said it, all those memories start flooding back. And it's on its own, how incredible of a song. Then you add it to CM Punk, probably the best promo of all time. Come on. It's perfect.
Yeah, I was introduced to this song through CM Punk. I heard it first as his theme music, and now I can easily say the song itself is probably in my top 10 just songs of all time. I love it. It's an incredible song. It's more relevant than ever right now, the lyrics and everything about it. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic pick. So props to CM Punk for introducing me to that song.
It's as Jordan said, all the best wrestling themes, you know, within a couple seconds who's coming out. And I love the TV static noise. It perfectly encapsulates CM Punk as a character. He is the disruptor. He is interrupting whatever programming you were expecting to watch because he's going to take it in his direction, whether it's voice of the voiceless, whether it's dropping another pipe bomb, or whether it's being the best wrestler in the world. One of the best moments in wrestling in the last few years was when he returned to WWE. Hell froze over at Survivor Series 2023. Nobody was expecting it. And as soon as you know what you're in store for. So excellent pick. If you were going to pick it, Brian, that was going to be my pick.
Well, that pop at the end of Survivor Series, I think might be one of the biggest pops I've ever heard in any moment. I mean, if not top 3 for sure, one of the best pops ever. But with that, next up on our list is Jordan with the next pick.
Well, we've talked about instantly recognizable themes, and I'm going to pick one here that I think all of us will agree has to be in, but I've put a little bit of a twist on my pick. It is Disturbed with Glass Shatters,
Nice.
Stone Cold Steve Austin. Not only am I picking one of the most recognizable themes of all time, I'm having to pick the Disturbed version of it because it's Disturbed, and as a hard rock fan, I absolutely love that. Again, it's an absolute staple, and it's one that was glued to Stone Cold his entire career, and even now, like he can't get away from that. That sound hits, you know what's going to happen. The level of, for lack of a better phrase, violence in whatever match or whatever moment is going to happen immediately just goes up when Stone Cold's music hits. Disturbed, Glass Shatters, it's in there.
Yeah, I mean, you can't have a wrestling mixtape without Stone Cold Steve Austin. There is no, I know I was just talking up CM Punk's theme song, but there is no 2 seconds of wrestling soundtrack that is more iconic than the glass shattering. In the Attitude Era, nothing got fans out of their seats quicker than that, because you knew that whatever was going on was about to be turned up to 11. So absolutely excellent pick. We cannot leave Stone Cold off of this list.
Yeah, I mean, what else can you say about Stone Cold? I think he had that theme when he turned heel, if I'm not, or he was with the Alliance or something. And you ask yourself, like, how can you make his, glass breaking entrance theme any more iconic? And a lot of people argue that this version is better. You got some lyrics you can sing along to, and I really do enjoy this version as well. And I might take it over his original one. So good pick.
Definitely a great shout choosing that one, not just the classic Stone Cold, but this specific version. Great choice. He is probably number 1 on my Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. He was just all around the best. It was the hottest time in wrestling. We still go back. Jason and I were going back last week and watching old Stone Cold stuff because it's just that damn good. And there's nothing more iconic than the glass breaking.
I'm not going to lie, during WrestleMania 40, as much as I loved the gong, I was waiting after that segment finished for the glass shatters. And even when the match was over, I'm like, it's got to still happen. I felt like that was needed. And I don't know if it's going to happen for WrestleMania 41, but there's rumblings and there's rumors and you never know what to believe. But if there were anybody to make WrestleMania 41 memorable, knowing that The Rock is going to be down at ringside, you've got John Cena in his last WrestleMania match, you've got the current face of the company in Cody Rhodes, you bring that glass shatters into the fold, and you have a WrestleMania moment that, I mean, Stone Cold hasn't been there since he faced Kevin Owens. So I think it would be a return of epic proportions, but we don't know yet. We have to wait and see. But with that, Ryan, we're up to you for track 5.
Track 5. So I appreciate all the entries of the artists who lent their songs to wrestlers, but we do have to pay tribute to Jim Johnston. While we have Def Rebel now, and that's a lot of where our complaints are coming from for the unrecognizable music, Jim Johnston produced some fire tracks that I think go beyond the wrestler it was written for. And the one that comes to mind first and foremost is Break the Walls Down for Chris Jericho. And it's not only just the swagger that you get. You feel like you can walk down the entrance ramp to that song. It's also what he represented. It was the turn of the millennium where he showed up on Monday Night Raw. Raw is Jericho, the new era of WWE and of wrestling. The smaller guy focusing on the technical style. I know that these songs are supposed to separate from the wrestlers, but you can't have Break the Walls Down without the aura of Jericho. And I know, ironically enough, he's in a band and he makes his own theme songs now. And I'm picking the one, obviously, it had to be from a previous WrestleMania. So I have to pick the one from WWE. And I love it with the countdown. And then, I got you. Oh, All of it comes together. I know I'm acting out a lot of these things.
I love it. More.
Given he was one of my favorites, I can't separate the art from the artist in this sense. He was one of my faves growing up. His theme music accentuated that.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at that era of wrestling really, really fondly, as most of us do here. And that kind of mystique of what was going to happen when Jericho first debuted in the lead up to Y2J, right? That's a huge moment. And the whole Raw is Jericho like introduction for him, and then the build into us hearing this break the walls. It was a huge time in wrestling. It was really exciting. And that song is synonymous with that era. So, yeah, it's a great pick from Ryan. I love it. Well done. Well done, man.
This brings me back to WrestleMania 19. How spoiled were we? If you haven't seen it, or if you haven't seen it in a long time, WrestleMania 19 was stacked. We had Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho in arguably Chris Jericho's best match of all time. And on that card, you also had things like, Triple H, Booker T, you had Hulk Hogan, Vince McMahon, The Rock, Stone Cold, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle. But this match stands out above all of those. That's how darn good it was. And this entrance with the long tube sort of shot that comes in on his Titantron video into the song appearing, and he's just standing there, arms out. Damn, Canadian greatness, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I agree as well. It's one of my favorite wrestling themes of all time. Fits the man perfectly. I listen to it pretty often, actually, if we're talking about like wrestling themes. And yeah, I agree 100%. It's got to be on that list.
Chris is a hell of a singer. I think that's been established over the years. I mean, I love what he's doing with Fozzy. Obviously, I was a huge Stuck Mojo fan in the 90s. So when I heard that members of Stuck Mojo were getting together with Chris Jericho, I'm going, this doesn't make sense on paper, a wrestler. And then when I heard the first Fozzy album, I'm going, okay, you got my attention. You got my attention. And obviously, he's spun it into doing his own theme music. But to me, this was his most iconic period in wrestling. And I feel like the Y2J character was, and I don't want to say his peak because he's still at it now. The fact that he's still going this long speaks volumes for him as a wrestler, him as a character, him as a athlete, just to be able to still do it at the rate he's doing. But this is definitely the song for him. And I love the fact that you went with this one. And with that, I just want to remind people that are listening that you can hear all the songs we're discussing in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page over at myweeklymixtape.com. So we're here at the halfway point, and believe it or not, we're not going to use the exact same order we had the first time around, because what fun would that be? So I randomized it yet again, and starting the second half of this side is Brad.
Let's go. All right, I get to bring up a banger right here. I'm going to go with soon-to-be Hall of Famer, the man at the helm of the company, Triple H. How could I not go with this one? It has to be on the list. Jordan's boy. Jordan says this is his favorite wrestler of all time, and it's very hard to argue. Motörhead, The Game, Triple H. This is one of the best songs of all time, one of the best wrestlers of all time. What an iconic career he's had, and he's still going, and that song is so damn good. So let's go, Triple H.
The Game, yeah. Triple H, his music is always on point, especially that song, the entrances that come along with it, everything. Like when you hear the music, all that imagery comes to your head. It's like impossible not to. I'm not even like a huge metal or like rock music kind of guy, but this entrance theme really got me more into opening my mind to this kind of music, actually. So yeah, I agree with you.
Triple H made this entrance theme work for him more than many other wrestlers when he came out as kind of this like warrior, Viking, pirate, king character. With the water spitting. I don't know. There's just a little bit of everything all in one with the water spitting. Yeah, that insane guitar riff at the beginning, the voice that only Lemmy could do. Yeah, this is an excellent pick. He wasn't on my short list just because I knew someone else would bring him up, but yeah, this is an excellent addition to our mixtape here.
WrestleMania X7. Triple H comes out to this being played live by Motörhead. One of my, I remember sitting watching this and just freaking out. It was so good. Lemmy forgot the words. and he ended up just singing the same thing over and over again. Go and watch it. He genuinely forgets it. It's great. But it doesn't matter because the song is so, so good. You can't help but get hyped when you hear that. I'm going to use a waxism here and just try and make some noises. When you hear that initial brown, you're just like, yes, I'm ready. Let's go. Bring them out. Bring them out. I love it.
WrestleMania 21, when Triple H lost to Batista, didn't Motörhead play that one too, or am I mistaken?
Oh,
Yes, I think so.
I think they did.
Okay, good. I thought my mind was playing tricks on me at that point because I remember saying to my friends, well, he lost the title to Batista, but at least Motörhead was there. So, I mean, that's got to account for something. But with that, Jordan, you are up with the next pick.
So we spoke about Jim Johnson being a hero of the Attitude Era and before, actually, for some of the themes that he came up with. But I'm going to go to late 2010s-ish. There was another artist that was bringing up some wrestling themes for us. CFO $, I guess is what they're known as to producers. And they came up with a theme song for a gentleman who, and I had to look this up because we spoke about it being somebody that was in WrestleMania, and I really had to make sure that they've been on WrestleMania, and they have. WrestleMania 34, US title, Fatal 4-Way, the lights go off, there's a little bit of a piano, and then you just hear Glorious Domination. Bobby Roode comes out. Again, if the wrestler maybe doesn't quite match up to how great this song was, but my days, from NXT onto the main roster, Glorious, Bobby Roode, everybody was out of their seats singing this one. So yeah, it had to be in there for me. It's such a good song.
If you can't tell, Jordan's from Scotland, right? I mean, it should be pretty obvious from the Scotland top, and if not, then that beautiful voice that keeps coming in. And if you didn't know, he's an incredible singer. Put a couple pints into him, and he can start belting out some beautiful music. But that being said, when I started living in Edinburgh and I was working at a store over there, you never know how to bring up wrestling, right? You don't want to be that guy who's just like, I'm a super big wrestling fan, until you lay the groundwork a little bit and see. But this is one of those songs that was playing in the store because one of our colleagues had put it on, and that was kind of the opening to being like, wow, they like wrestling, they know wrestling, I can bring it up, I can talk about it now. And this is a song that we used to play all the time because it's so damn good.
Yeah, like you said, like Bobby Roode doesn't really hit much for me as like a wrestling fan. Like I don't know much of his stuff, but like this song really surpassed him in every way. It could surpass a lot of wrestlers. It just feels like a warm blanket coming over you musically when it hits. And as far as like the newer, more modern type wrestling themes, this one really stands out. So no problem with putting it on. It might not have the same historical feeling and everything, but the song itself, it hits. So
Yeah, I love this poll, Jordan. As the kids say, you were in your bag for this one, and I thought about it myself. Again, it's one of those where the theme song kind of predates what the wrestler himself did in WWE, but my prevailing memory of this song is actually not WrestleMania. It's an NXT takeover in Toronto where a live choir came out and accompanied Bobby Roode. And it's just, this is one of the more epic sounding and grand sounding theme songs in WWE history. I wish they did more with Bobby just so I could hear that theme song over and over again.
I have to agree kind of with what Jason said and maybe the whole panel as well, because I feel like this is one of those instances where the song almost eclipses the height of the original wrestler at some point. And I feel like CFO $, I think they're called Chief Financial Officer, if I'm not mistaken. They do my daughter's favorite wrestler's theme song, which is Bianca Belair's Watch Me Shine. They had a knack for coming up with songs that kind of, God, I feel bad for shitting on Def Rebel all the time, but I mean, really, you think about some of the stuff that Chief Financial Officers did, and then you think about the 2025 Royal Rumble, and I think the argument's just made. But with that, Ryan, you're up next.
Yes, gentlemen, I'm noticing a theme in our mixtape thus far, and we are missing something. We are missing a little female representation, not just for the wrestler, but the artist. And so I have to pick, even though I wasn't the biggest fan of this person in WWE, I do have to pick it because the music was so excellent. And it also was the theme song of Freaks and Geeks, one of my favorite shows that was on for all too short of a time. It's Bad Reputation by Joan Jett, also the theme song of one rowdy Ronda Rousey. And I was never a UFC guy, so I don't know if she also used this theme in her UFC career. I want to say she did, but don't quote me on that. But it kind of encompassed everything that I've always loved about wrestling. It's the counterculture, the punk rock aspect, the edge of it. And Ronda did represent that. She kind of brought or helped bring the women's division in WWE into this out of the Divas era and into the women's wrestling era, first Evolution pay-per-view, and what the women's wrestling division has become, not only in WWE, but also in AEW. And it's Ronda's debut in WWE that really was a flagship moment for it. And that theme is just so cool that it has to be on the mixtape, quite honestly. It's whether you enjoyed Ronda or not.
I'm kind of surprised by that pick from you, Ryan. I won't lie, but I like it. I'm kind of here for it. I'm trying to like mull it over because it's fresh to my ears, you saying this. So I'm like, does it make sense to be on this playlist? Yeah, it does, actually. You're right. Because actually, if I separate Ronda from the track, the actual track itself is an absolute banger. And again, pretty instantly recognizable. So yeah, it's a good pick.
Great choice. I was a huge Roddy Piper fan, and she was a huge fan of him. And so that got me right on board right away. And it was her UFC theme as well. I remember seeing her come out to that for sure. And the start of her career was so good in WWE. And this song added a lot to it. And maybe towards the end, when you heard that music hit, you weren't as excited, or at least some people weren't. I've always been a big fan. I still welcome her back with open arms in WWE as long as they do it right. And so, great choice, Ryan. Great show.
Yeah, I would say great pick for the first run Ronda had. Bad pick for the second run that Ronda had, because by the second run, we're all just telling her to run away and go away. But as far as the song, it matches her perfectly. I didn't know she used it for UFC, so that makes it even better. It's a badass song, and she was a badass when she came in for her first run. I just watched the tag match actually recently where it was her, Kurt Angle versus Stephanie and Triple H, a match that we had no expectations for, but really surpassed anything we could have imagined. It was a great match. So yeah, good pick.
I have to agree with the whole panel. Like Brad, I am a huge Roddy Piper fan. Roddy Piper is actually my favorite wrestler of all time.
Let's go.
So, I mean, I grew up watching the early WrestleManias. There was something I loved about his character, the eye pokes, the little bit of humor mixed with a little bit of like, I don't know, there's a badass side to him, but there was also this humorous Three Stooges side to him, and he knew how to balance it so perfectly. And then obviously you throw They Live in there, and it's incredible. Theme music-wise, his music's great. I love hearing it, but does it make a playlist like this? I don't know. I like that you went with Ronda Rousey because of that connection to Rowdy Piper. I loved the fact that she was channeling that character moving forward. I love that in the beginning, Roddy was involved a little bit. To me, that was like passing the torch. So as long, if she was Roddy approved, she was Brian approved. And I really loved that first run. And I'll admit the second run left a lot to be desired. And I hope she gets a chance and an opportunity to make it up with a third run, because there's a lot of matches that I think with this current crop of female wrestlers in the WWE, I could see some fantastic matches if she gives it. She wanted to be there during the first run and you felt it. The second run, I felt like she was there to get paid and she was checking out a lot of it. And I think that's where a lot of the bad blood comes from, because wrestling fans are very quick to sniff out when somebody's there to cash a paycheck versus if they're there to actually do the sport. And I think that's why a lot of people are so mixed about Logan Paul, because a lot of people don't like him as a person, but it's so hard to deny that he's putting it out there in the ring and he's putting on matches that, even though I don't like him, you're sitting there going, oh, but that was like such a great spot. Like, I can't
100%.
hate the dude. Like he is laying it out there and he's not phoning it in like some of the other celebrity appearances throughout the years. So I got to give credit where credit's due there. But holy shit, we got 2 songs left and I don't even know where to begin here. Thankfully, the oddities never appeared at WrestleMania, so I could skip my Insane Clown Posse pick. Oh, but I'm struggling because we mentioned an artist earlier, and I didn't talk about this, so I do want to bring it up. Sexy Boy was written by J.J. Maguire and Jimmy Hart. So Mouth of the South was part of that. I wanted to bring up and mention Mouth of the South at some point because he was also responsible for a lot of the early wrestling stuff. So I was thinking about going with the Honky Tonk Man's Cool, Cocky, and Bad.
Excellent.
But like, I loved the Honky Tonk Man for the fact that he was a heel that you just loved to hate. His squash match against the Ultimate Warrior in SummerSlam was one of my proudest moments as a kid. I love that moment. So I was never more happy for a squash match ever in my life. However, we're talking music here, and Cool and Cocky and Bad is a fun song. However, I know we talked about Shawn Michaels and I know we talked about Triple H, but Chris Warren and Jim Johnson, Are You Ready?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Degeneration X is a song that I could rock out to whether I'm watching wrestling or it just comes on my playlist. I have it on my playlist. And then you take the fact that Run DMC did the Kings on the WWE Aggression CD.
Oh, yeah.
If the Kings of Rock are tipping their hat to your theme song, you have nailed it. So I know we talked about them as separate entities, but Degeneration X, and I think about when Chris Warren performed it live at WrestleMania 14 when it was Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold with Mike Tyson as the guest referee.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it has to be included.
Yeah, like it was definitely on my list as a contender, and I thought about it for so long. And I actually do listen to that song every now and again. Like, I just put it on; it's so good. I remember that when I heard that for the first time, it was again for me my introduction into punk metal, I guess you would call it, and it's what led me to be such a big fan of somebody like Limp Bizkit, because that was kind of that similar type of genre, but it was maybe more TV friendly than what Limp Bizkit were putting out at the time. But again, another great symbol of the Attitude Era. Like, before that, we had exactly what you mentioned, the Honky Tonk Man. You could not get a further departure from theme music from Honky Tonk Man to break it down. That's ridiculous, but yet we had it in 2 or 3 years. That's insane, but it's a great addition to the mixtape for sure.
This was 100% on my list, so this is a great call. And there's so many incredible memories, and this is such a big part of my childhood. I was at that right age when it was just the coolest thing in the world to do the DX chops and say suck it to everybody that would cross your path, and anyone that was playing video games definitely got the chops. But it also made me think back to recently. We have a local indie show here called IWS, and this is somewhere where we'd seen Kevin Owens and other guys come up here in Montreal. We had a live band at the last show called the WrestleManiacs, and they played this live, and holy crap, does this get you hyped before an indie wrestling show? Man, so watching this live, and you can listen to it obviously anytime you want. Great choice.
Yeah, I agree. And a good shout out for WWF Aggression. I remember that. I think that was the first CD I had that had swearing on it. I brought it over to Brad's house, and I felt really proud about that. And the Run DMC version is incredible, and that CD is underrated for sure. And this Degeneration X theme, perfect time, like Brad said, for it to come out. I felt like I could conquer the world and screw everybody, chops for everybody. I do what I want. You listen to me, and it just perfectly encapsulates everything DX stands for. So, yeah, it has to be there.
Yeah, Degeneration X hit at a time when wrestling, I think for the first time in a little bit, merged it out of the counterculture and was part of the popular culture. Wrestling was cool. Nu metal was cool. Limp Bizkit was cool. Saying screw you to authority was cool. And all of that was Degeneration X. They were really, you could talk about Austin. You could talk about The Rock, who hasn't come up at this point in time. You also have to talk about Degeneration X at the height of the Monday Night Wars. They were causing mayhem. They were disregarding authority, for lack of a nicer way to put it. And the theme song was part of what made them what they were.
Well, Jason, with this, you are drawing the 30 spot in the Royal Rumble, maybe 31. This could be the 31st entrant because you have a tough decision to make here. Because at the end of the day, there's one song left, and I can guarantee you that people are screaming at their stereos or their headphones if they're walking down the street for what they think that this last song should be. So you get to take us home. What are we closing with tonight?
Well, I think I can guarantee that this song will probably make a lot of people mad, and that's not because it's a bad song, but because this particular wrestler has maybe done everything he could possibly do as of late to make his legacy worse and worse and worse. But he's still a real American. So, and he has real American beer, apparently. So I got to go with Hulk Hogan's theme, Real American. And I know it sounds cheesy and corny and whatever, but it passed the shower test for me. And you know what? Like I had like I had a surface level feeling for this song. Like you hear it when he comes out, yeah, whatever, Hulk Hogan. But when you really listen to this song with the right amount of inspiration or drugs or whatever in the shower, and you listen to the background vocals and everything that's going on, the way it builds. And Cyndi Lauper actually has the background vocals on this track, which I only realized after listening to it for a couple of years. I'm like, oh wait, that's. I thought it was like an instrument, but it's her voice, incredible voice on this. Yeah, and also this song was actually first used by Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham.
Wow.
Who were what was their name?
That's true.
The U.S. Express. They were a tag team. They had this because I think Hulk Hogan was coming out to something else, and then they left, and they're like, all right, let's give it to Hulk, and then it just went crazy from there. Like whatever you feel about Hulk Hogan, you cannot deny that he is wrestling. Without him, maybe wrestling isn't what it is today. And this song is absolutely, positively iconic. And how could you not have it on a WrestleMania playlist?
I remember jumping up and down on my couch during WrestleMania 3. It was one of the greatest childhood moments of my life. And in 1987, I was on a plane from New Jersey to California with my parents because my parents had tickets to the Super Bowl that year where the New York Giants played the Denver Broncos.
Whoa.
And we're on the plane and we're sitting in the first row of coach. And there's a curtain that they close right in front of me. I am 10 years old. I hear Hulk Hogan's voice right on the other side of the curtain.
No. What?
I go to peek my head through because I'm 10. I go to peek my head through the curtain and like this stewardess comes right back and sits me down in the chair and says, you can't come up there. This is first class. And I'm like, that's Hulk Hogan. I was 10. She kept saying, you're not allowed up in first class. You're not allowed up in first class. So I spent the entire flight from New Jersey all the way to California trying to sneak up front.
What?
Finally, she comes back with a napkin and she goes, here, I got this signed for you. Now, please sit down for the rest of the flight. Hulk Hogan doesn't want to talk to anybody right now. He's tired. So I spent 36 years angry at Hulk Hogan. Fast forward to 2 years ago, I'm at a conference and I'm wandering around the conference, and this is a big conference that has a lot of celebrities at it and they do appearances, and I hear Hulk Hogan's there. I'm like, I need to fix this. So I went on my lunch break and I got online. You know, I waited however long, it was probably a half-hour wait, and I'm like, crap, I'm giving up my whole lunch break here, but I don't care. I finally get up to him and I said, Hulk, in 1987, I was 10 years old, and I told him the whole story. And I'm like holding up the line. And I said, so I've waited 37 years to tell you this. It is so awesome how you slammed Andre the Giant. Everybody online started cracking up. He gave me like the big bro hug and he's like, dude, he goes, I will tell you this right now. I would have never, ever, ever turned down a child that wanted to see me at the height of Hulkamania. That was everything. I would have gotten in trouble with Vince had I done something like that. I apologize on behalf of those stewardesses. And, you know, they gave me a Polaroid picture with them, and I got like one on my phone. It was a really awesome moment.
Amazing.
So
nice.
as much as I try to leave all the politics out of the show, whatever people think, everyone can have their own thoughts. As a kid who didn't have Hulk Hogan as a hero for even that much of a time, so I can't argue the pick.
Yeah, I mean, great story, first of all. And I will
Thank you.
also leave my personal and political opinions about the Hulkster aside, because you cannot deny the impact he's had on the wrestling landscape. He was loved in Montreal and in Quebec. He was cheered every time. Like, Montreal is known for its many minute standing ovations, most recently for Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber 2023 when he fought Roman Reigns. And Hulk got that same treatment. You can't say that the wrestling industry would be where it is without somebody like him. And that theme song was the superhero theme. It was the eat your vegetables and stay in school and don't do drugs. It was the squeaky clean babyface theme. And it wouldn't have been my pick if I were in Jason's shoes, but I understand why. And I understand why you would think, hey, you still have to pay homage to his contribution, even regardless of how you feel about the man.
As somebody who plays guitar, I'm sitting thinking about this song, and I can picture Hulk Hogan standing in front of the American flag pretending to play guitar, and it's actually hilarious just looking at that video of him doing it. But the song's a banger. It's absolute class. Again, as Brad mentioned, I'm Scottish. Funny that I'm sitting here drinking lovely whiskey. Of course I am, but I still pop for that song because it's so good. I can't even really relate to it, but I pop to it. It's great. The guitar, everything about it, and the backing vocals make it as well. So yeah, it's a great pick, and it perfectly rounds off a mixtape.
And I never understood why, because Hulk Hogan actually plays bass guitar in real life, why he didn't actually try to play the song in that video. And he kind of did the background dancers from the Simply Irresistible video by Robert Palmer, where they're just kind of flailing their hands. Anyway, Brad.
Great show. One of my earliest wrestling memories of all time is WrestleMania. I think it was 9. WrestleMania 9. It was Giant Gonzalez versus The Undertaker. And luckily I was too young to understand, because Bret Hart is my favorite wrestler of all time. And this WrestleMania wasn't very good for him because he loses to Yokozuna, who goes on to fight Hulk Hogan in the main event. And I got redemption because Hulk Hogan beats Yokozuna, wins the WWF Championship. And so one of my earliest wrestling memories ever is Hulk Hogan saving the day and bringing the championship back. Even if I wasn't American, I was fully on board and I felt American. I wanted to be American because of Hulk Hogan. So huge shout out. What a great choice.
Rick Derringer, who also did the Demolition theme. He did a lot of stuff with the WWF at the time. I had the Pile Driver cassette growing up with Hulk Hogan with the construction hat on, but every one of those songs I could have included in this mix, but we only had 10 choices. We only scratched the surface tonight, but there you have it. The first 10 songs in this WrestleMania playlist, kicking off with J.J. Maguire and Jimmy Hart, Sexy Boy for Shawn Michaels, Johnny Cash's Ain't No Grave for The Undertaker, Living Color's Cult of Personality for CM Punk, Disturbed Glass Shatters for Stone Cold Steve Austin, Jim Johnson's Break Down the Walls for Chris Jericho, Motörhead's The Game for Triple H, CFO $'s Glorious Domination for Bobby Roode, Joan Jett's Bad Reputation for Ronda Rousey, Chris Warren and Jim Johnson's Are You Ready for Degeneration X, and Rick Derringer's Real American for Hulk Hogan. Head over to myweeklymixtape.com to hear all the songs we've discussed in this mix through the playlist embedded on the episode page. Now, before we wrap things up, since I have the 4 jobbers here on the show, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you each this question. Who is your favorite wrestling jobber of all time and why? Brad, we'll start with you.
So I'll give a shout out to a video that I made not too long ago at the 4 jobbers on social media on Instagram. Maybe he's not a jobber, but for us, he is. He's one of my boys. It's going to be Steve Blackman. This guy had the karate chops, the jiu-jitsu chops, whatever, like the martial arts chops. He couldn't do a promo very well until he was with Al Snow, and then it was just all comedy. He just stayed serious. He smacked an alien with a kendo stick, all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm going to go with Steve Blackman. Even though he's not a true jobber, he's one of those guys that's never rose to the top. So I'll go with him.
Jason.
I'm going to go with like an obscure pick here. Hakushi. I don't know if you remember him from back in like 95, 96. He had like the writing all over him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That's how people, like when I was a kid, I'm like, this guy's really cool. Like, what is that writing all over him? Is that real? Like, was it? He was also ahead of his time. He had like a high flying like move set. He had 2 really good matches with Bret Hart. That's pretty much the highlight of his run in WWF. But he always stuck out to me as a kid, and I've done more research as I grew up and did a couple of videos on him. So he's one that I remember for sure. And he wasn't a jobber coming in, obviously, but they turned him into a jobber pretty quickly. And then he actually tagged with maybe the best jobber of all time, Barry Horowitz, which was definitely the nail in the coffin for him.
Ryan.
I'm picking someone a little more modern. One thing I always appreciate about a jobber is someone who accepts that this is their path and makes the most of it. And so my fellow 4 Jobbers colleagues know who I'm going with here. It's the one-man Southern rock band. It's Heath Slater, who it was easy to root for him to lose. He had a nice run where he would always come out and call out a legend. The legend would come and beat him soundly, but he was getting on television. And also a theme song I thought about briefly, including, but I'd have to go back and look if it ever made it to a WrestleMania. It probably didn't, but I'm just one man. That opening riff was iconic for him. He knew his role, he knew his lane, and he was excellent. And he's still active, I think, in TNA, if I'm not mistaken. So a shout out to him.
All right. And Jordan?
Well, you guys better stand back because I've got a pretty good pick coming here. It is the Hurricane Shane Helms. I'm a big like superhero guy and comic book guy, so the idea of having a superhero and wrestling at the same time, that was everything for me. It's a shame he didn't do an awful lot with that gimmick, but he was also this like comedy kind of piece between other wrestlers, and I loved that about him. Even if he wasn't the main event guy, he was always there as the reporter, Shane Helms, in the background, and I loved that he was just in amongst everybody else's business. He did win some tag team gold at some point. I think he might have won it with Kane, actually. I think that's right. But yeah, like he was a guy who had so much charisma and is still around in WWE today as a producer. So yeah, Shane Helms, the Hurricane, what a guy.
And he beat The Rock.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Well, for me, because there's only one of me and there's 4 of you, I have to go with 3. But I grew up watching WWF Superstars of Wrestling on Saturday mornings. So I grew up with the likes of Iron Mike Sharp, Steve Lombardi, otherwise known as the Brooklyn Brawler.
Nice.
And then
Of course.
my favorite, who probably would take the top prize for me, Leaping Lenny Poffo, who went on to become the Genius. But he would always come out and read a poem about the person before they pummeled him into submission. And then when he became the Genius, he actually had a little bit of like a mid-card run there. So you got to give him props. It wasn't like a big jump, but it was a better than getting pummeled every week jump.
No, some great choices. Good shows.
So with that, I'm not sure which one of you guys would like to take this, but please let my listeners know where they can learn more about the 4 Jobbers and how they can connect with you guys on social media.
At the 4 Jobbers everywhere on social media. We also have our podcast. Of course, we're part of the Pantheon Network, so you can get us on Spotify. You can get us on Apple Music. But we also have a YouTube channel, Instagram. We make different compilation videos. We talk about what's going on. Feel free to follow us, yell at us, bark at us, because I'm sure we missed some songs here. So feel free. If we got anything wrong, let us know.
Likewise, and gentlemen, this has been an absolute blast. Thank you so much for joining me on My Weekly Mixtape.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
Thanks
you
for having
so
us.
much. Yeah, appreciate it.
Great.
That was fun.
And remember, you can find My Weekly Mixtape on almost all the social media haunts at My Weekly Mixtape. You can also head to myweeklymixtape.com to check out the full catalog of My Weekly Mixtape episodes. And if you like what you're hearing on the show, you can help me out by either telling a friend, leaving the show a 5-star review wherever you're tuning in, or becoming a Patreon mixtaper at patreon.com/My Weekly Mixtape. There you can find ad-free episodes of the show, get early access to future My Weekly Mixtape episodes, chime in on upcoming topics, become a future guest, and so much more. That's all for this week. Thanks again for listening, and until next time, enjoy the tunes and WrestleMania.